All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the MakeCode Arcade Advanced. I'm Richard on the forum.
I'm Joey at JWonderl on the MakeCode forum.
And today, I said we were going to work on our Seagull game, but I forgot to do the thing that I was supposed to do. So we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to be trying something brand new, something we haven't done on stream before. I'm hearing. I think there might be a slight echo.
Let me turn down my volume a little bit. I'm not hearing one, so if it is, I'll just mute.
Okay. So, I thought we would try something new that we've never done before, which is, and I came up with this idea literally 5 minutes ago. Like, when I realized I had forgotten what to do, forgotten to do the thing I had to do for stream. And then I was like, oh, right. And I was like, okay, we'll do this instead. We are going to do a tutorial today. And I'm thinking that this might be a new series of streams we do where we just take one simple game mechanic and we show you how to do it the right way in MakeCode Arcade. And I was like, what do we start with, though? And I think the first mechanic I want to do, kind of coming out of left field, is ladders. All right. So we get a lot of ladders in arcade games, right? And very often, I should have pulled up an example game. I don't want to put anyone on blast because the way that people do ladders typically in arcade games it's not bad, but it's not like what you would normally expect, And I get why they do it the way they do, because it's kind of hard to figure out how to do this properly if you're not used to it. But let's see if we can pull up a game.
Is the main thing you're thinking that typically is more like turning off gravity, and so you can move left and right still while going up?
I don't know why that auto completed.
Oh.
All right, we're going to mini game jam. Sorry, what were you saying?
Is the main thing you're thinking of, which is what comes to mind for me at least, that it's more like turning off gravity in most implementations of a ladder instead of going up and down on one alignment?
Yeah, there's a few ways I see it done. So one common way I see it done is like in this game, which if you watched our stream on Friday, I like this game a lot. Okay, I like all of Bilangus' games, but the way that they do ladders is, well, I need to get to an actual ladder, so give me a moment. Oh, there's one, but it's in the cutscene. Nope. Sorry, this is how you know I didn't prepare. When I edit this to put it on YouTube later, I'm going to cut all this stuff out. That's a behind the scenes for you. Oh, wait, there's one. Yeah, okay. So, oh no, you know what? Bilangus actually did it right. I'm actually completely okay with Bilangus's ladder implementation. Take it back. Okay, well, anyway, there's two ways I typically see it done. All right. So one is this way, which is like not ideal, but also not the worst. Like this is totally fine. It does the basic ladder stuff, and it works pretty much okay. So this is what Joey mentioned, the turning off gravity option, basically. Right? The other one that I see very often is someone will make a game and they'll have ladders, and ladders just mean you can hold A and you'll just rocket upwards. All right? Which you can also do in this one, actually, see? So if I hold A, I just rocket upwards. And I think that might have been why I thought of this ladder implementation, because I was doing that while we were playing, because I'm so used to doing that in MakeCode Arcade games. So anyway, we're going to show how to do ladders. And to do that, we are first going to make a little tile map that we can use for testing. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 10 by 8, which is one screen. We're going to go ahead and put this down here. Whoops. Put in some ground. Create a ladder tile. Nothing fancy. There's no way I got this even, right? Oh, I did. Nice. All right. And to make this kind of a complete example, I'm not going to use the duck, though I normally do. I'm going to use the person so that we can do animations also. All right, and we're going to go ahead and set our background color to the sky so that we don't have to look at this black void. All right, so let's finish up doing the basic platformer stuff. So we're going to give ourselves some gravity. Set it to be 500. We're going to go ahead and do an on A button pressed. We're going to set the gravity to, I'm sorry, not set gravity, set our velocity to -200. Let's see how high that makes us jump. Sure, that's fine. And we're going to check to make sure we're on the ground. And then finally, we want to add a move with buttons. Oh, wait, we already did. Move with buttons and then get rid of the VY. All right, there we go. Let's do animations. So we're going to go into our extensions. We're going to do character animations. And we are just going to do the very basic ones, which is if we are moving right, then we're going to loop the moving right frames. Otherwise, if we are moving left, we are going to do the moving left frames. Okay. Left, right. Let's make that interval faster. There you go. Did it. Okay. So we now want to make it so that we can climb up this ladder. Now, let's talk about what the ideal behavior is, because like I said, I didn't plan anything before this. So we're going to kind of figure this out as we go along. And I promise, by the way, if we keep doing these, I will prepare more for these future ones. I literally just came up with this idea beforehand. Like I said, 5 minutes before stream started. So Joey, what is your ideal ladder behavior? And can you think of a game that has the ideal behavior that you would look for? You're muted, Joey.
I don't have one in mind immediately, I think, but I think it's when you walk over to it, you either press up or press B, something like that, right, to lock into the ladder. You can climb it at that point at a given rate, but you can't go left and right, and another button to escape.
Yeah. So I can think of two kind of typical ways of doing this. So one is what Joey just described. So the lock into the ladder and then climb up, right? And then the other one is what I call Mega Man ladders, which is what we just saw kind of on Bilangus without the weird jumping bug. So in Mega Man, when you overlap a ladder, you can just start immediately going upwards. I think it's only I need to double check this. I don't have a Mega Man game handy. Well, I do, but I'm not going to turn it on right now and play it. I think in Mega Man you can jump through ladders. It's only if you press up while you're overlapping with the ladder that you go into climbing mode. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do both of these today. And which one do you think we should start with, Joey? The lock-in or the Mega Man ladders?
I don't know why I just disappeared. I think lock-in is probably a good one, just because I don't recall seeing it done ever.
That one's more complicated to do for sure.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and call this ladder starter. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. And so we'll start from the same code when we do the other implementation. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the lock on to ladders. Okay, so we're going to make it so that when we are overlapping with the ladder, we want a little button indicator to appear. That's going to say like A. And then when you press A, we're going to lock on. We're going to move up. And we're going to press B to get out of it. Or we're going to automatically get out of ladder climbing state when we reach the bottom or reach the top of the ladder. All right. So let's start by drawing that icon. We're gonna go ahead and just make a sprite for this. We're gonna just put an A on a little square. Let's make this 8 by 8. Whoops, not 8 by 186. Like this. Fill it with white. Round off the edges. Like that. Okay. So we're going to make this appear above our player's head when they are overlapping with the ladder. First, though, we're going to talk about like here. Let's actually put this on a comment so that we have exactly what we want to happen here. So this is going to be the snap to ladder approach. So when overlapping with ladder, an A indicator will appear. Pressing A will snap you to the X position of the ladder and prevent you from moving left and right. When you press B or get to the top / bottom, we will automatically unsnap you. Right? So these are the three things they're going to kind of be doing. Oh, and then of course, you are going to be prevented from moving left and right, but you will be able to obviously move up and down. All right. So let's start with our indicator. So we're going to have our indicator always be in our game. So let's go ahead and put anything right here. We're going to call this new variable. We're going to call it button indicator. And we're going to make it so that this guy is always on top of our player. So let's go into an on-game update. And we're going to set the X position of our button indicator to be the same as the X position of our player. And we are going to set the bottom of our button indicator to the top of our player. And we'll give it like 1 pixel of buffer. So do top -1. All right, there we go. So we have a button indicator that's now constantly floating on top of our guy. Now we don't actually want it to be visible all the time, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the invisible flag on here. So if you've never seen the invisible flag, it's inside of this dropdown. we're going to go down to our button indicator. We're going to go ahead and go to invisible, and we're going to turn that on. And let's move all of this to the end of our on start so that it's not crowding up our player code. And we're going to give this a new kind. We're going to call this button indicator. We don't actually need this to do any overlap stuff. So, all right. Now, inside here, we are going to constantly be setting the button indicator to either on or off, invisible. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to grab an if statement. We're going to go to scene, and we're going to grab tile to blank of sprite, and we're going to change this to center of my sprite, and we're going to say our ladder tile. So if the tile to the center of our sprite is the ladder tile, then we are going to go ahead and set invisible off. Otherwise, we're going to set invisible on. All right, so there we go. Now we have a button indicator that appears when we are overlapping with our ladder. All right. So let's go ahead and do the snapping behavior. So right now, inside of our on A button pressed, we are just always setting our velocity to -200 if we're on the ground. Instead, we're going to make this so that if we are overlapping with the ladder, we're going to start climbing it. So I'm going to go ahead and make a function right now. This is going to be called is overlapping ladder. And we're just going to put our little if statement here. Tile the center of my sprite is ladder inside here. Collapse that. And that way we can call this in both these places without having to duplicate code. Okay, so we're going to take our if statement and we're going to go say is overlapping ladder right here. We're going to move this into an else if. And now in here, this is where we're going to go into ladder mode, so to speak. All right. So speaking of that, let's make a variable that's going to define if we are in ladder mode or not. We're going to go into variables and we're going to make a variable called is climbing ladder. And we're going to set is climbing ladder to false in the beginning of our program. And now we're going to make another function, and we're going to call this start climbing ladder. Okay, so start climbing ladder. First thing we want to do, we want to set this to be true because we are now climbing a ladder. All right. Second thing we want to do is we want to align our player to the X position of the tile that they are currently on, right? We want to snap them to the right place. So to do that, we're going to animate this later, but for now, we can do this by just saying place on top of the tile that we are currently on top of. Like that. All right, let's call this function. I'm going to go over here. I'm overlapping, press A. There we go. I got snapped onto my ladder. Now we haven't done anything else yet, so I can just walk right off.
You're only overlapping a little. Will it snap you? Like if you're mostly on the left, will it snap you to the center off?
It'll snap you. So the is.
Oh, yes. Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, this block here, tile to center. This will only check the tile at the center of our sprite. So if we happen to be more than halfway off in either direction, then this button indicator won't show. You know.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right, cool. So we set is climbing ladder to true. Now, the next thing we want to do here is we want to turn off our X movement. So we're actually going to grab our move with buttons code. We're going to put this in here. Well, let's duplicate it, not get rid of it. And we're going to set our Vx to 0, and we're going to set our Vy to, I don't know, 20. All right, so now I can go over here, snap, and I can, okay, that's way too slow. What am I doing? Let's make it 100. Oh, I guess I had gravity still on. Okay, so that's the next thing we want to do is we want to turn off our gravity. So let's do that right now. We're going to set our AY to 0. All right, head over here, snap, climb on up. That's too fast. Maybe like, I don't know. Let's do like 60. Snap, up top. There we go. Too slow. Okay, split the difference, 80. All right, cool. So this is working, but right now we are forever on this ladder, and when we get to the top, we just fly right on past. When we get to the bottom, we're still stuck right there. So that's no good. We need to handle when we're at the top or when we're at the bottom. So we're going to be doing that inside of this on-game update. So right now we have this button indicator stuff. We're going to go ahead and switch this to be inside an if statement. We're going to say if we are climbing a ladder, we're going to do something else. If we're not climbing a ladder, we're going to do the rest of this. So first thing we're going to do inside of our is climbing ladder is we don't need the button indicator anymore. So we're going to go ahead and set that to invisible. So now we're going to head over here, and there we go. We have turned off our button indicator. Now we need to detect. Let's detect when we hit the bottom first, because that's the easiest thing to do. So to see if we've hit the bottom, we're going to go ahead and say an if right here. We're going to say if we are hitting a wall at the bottom, then we're going to set is climbing ladder to false. So inside a scene, we're going to say is hitting wall. Bottom, we're going to say is climbing ladder is false. All right. So now I can press A, and I'm immediately getting kicked out of ladder mode. We never restore, but you can see the button indicator is immediately coming back. Why is that happening, Joey? Joey, you're muted if you're talking.
Why is it happening? 1 second. It's hard to see. Likely because we have it in the A pressed and it's getting repeated, or no?
No. So what's happening is we are clearing our acceleration right here. We also need to clear our Y velocity.
Gotcha.
At least I think this is what's going on. So if I go over here and press A, oh no, it's still not working. So what's happening is that this is climbing ladder thing is, I mean, this is hitting wall bottom is returning true, right? So I guess what we need to do is say if we are hitting the wall bottom and, let's go to and. Is down pressed. Then we're going to make a new function here. We're going to call stop climbing ladder.
Is this one going to change the behavior?
Yeah, should.
Yes. I mean, but down will be pressed while for the 1 frame after.
No, it won't, because you press A to get on the ladder.
Oh, down is pressed. Okay, yeah. That was
not if A is pressed. Yeah.
Not A is pressed. Gotcha. Yep.
Okay. So we now have a way to get off our ladder, kind of. So we have a way to turn that Boolean off because that's all our stop climbing ladder function currently does. So we can go up, we can climb up, we can come down, and this button reappearing means that we have hit the bottom, right? So let's go ahead and write the code to undo our kind of like ladder climbing stuff. So we're going to re-enable our controls. We're going to re-enable our acceleration. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab our button and acceleration stuff, and I'm just going to call stop climbing ladder in our on start. And that's going to set all of this stuff, nicely for us. So now I go up here, climb up, climb down, I'm back to normal. I'm up, climb down, I'm back to normal. All right, so we're most of the way there. So what we need to do now is we need to detect when you are at the top. Well, there's two things left, right? We need to make it so that you can press B to drop off. And we need to make it so that when you get to the bottom, you get to the top, you are no longer climbing the ladder. Okay, so let's do that first. We're going to go ahead and getting to the top part, I mean. So we're going to go ahead and go into our on-game update. And to test if we have gotten to the top, we're going to go ahead and grab our check right here and say, else if tile to bottom is ladder, and we're going to change this instead to be not. So if the tile to the bottom of our sprite is not the ladder, that means that we have gotten up to the top. So let's go ahead and just turn on our stop climbing ladder right now. So we're going to go up. Oh, whoops. I think we're going to do the same is up press check. Okay. Oh, no. All right. I think tile to the bottom actually does not do what I think it does. So tile to the bottom, I think, finds the tile below where your center is, which makes sense. I was thinking it would tell you the tile that was at the bottom pixel of your sprite. Though it makes sense to me now that it would not do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to figure out the tile that is at the bottom pixel of our sprite, the feet right here. So instead of doing this tile to bottom business, we're going to pull this out. We're instead going to have to check it manually. And to do that, we're going to go into scene. We're going to grab tile at location is, and we're going to go ahead and calculate this location. So to calculate the location, it's easy. We're going to grab inside of math, we're going to grab a square root block and change it to instead be integer divide. Put this right here. And we want to take our x of our sprite, and we're going to integer divide that by whatever our tile width is. So in this example, I'm using 16 by 16 tiles. So I want to integer divide by 16. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. And now for the row, we want to do the same thing, except instead of using the y, we're going to use the bottom of our sprite. Right? So this should now, when we get up to the top, you can see we immediately start falling.
You kind of need a middle state where it's gravity is still not applied, but you are able to move out of it, maybe?
I think the way it should be is that the top of ladder should always be a wall unless you are...
okay, yes, that also works.
Unless you are climbing the ladder.
Yes, that is also a good approach.
Yeah. I mean, it can be a little gross in certain circumstances, I guess. But I think
it should be a wall that still lets you get into the ladder.
You should not be able to fall through it, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that could be a little bit weird is if you had a ladder and you were like jumping and you overlapped with it, then you would get like something. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. Like if you had a ladder, if you were able to jump, 10 pixels higher, you would be hitting the top of the ladder right there if it's treated as a wall.
Right. I would be bonking my head on it.
Yeah.
Which we probably don't want to happen.
Maybe we set it as a wall only when you're above it height-wise.
I think that is what we're going to have to do. Yeah. But we'll handle that in a second. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So there we go. All right. So now we stop climbing our ladder, right? And we immediately fall down, as we've been talking about. So we need to, before we get into this complicated logic we're going to have to do, we are first going to do the animations. All right. So the way we're going to do this is we are going to override our character animations. So let's go ahead and grab our thing here. Oh, hey, here's a good question. Is there a way to remove character animations? I don't think that there is.
Can you set it to null? If you put empty, like a.
You mean like if I do this?
The array. Yeah.
Oh well.
Well,
yeah.
if you, yeah, but you know what I mean.
I don't think I handled that.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's a feature request.
Yeah, that's a feature request. Okay, so inside of stop climbing ladder, we're gonna put this stuff. Whoops. Go ahead and delete this. Inside here, we're going to go up to say if moving up, we're going to do our climbing animation, which is going to be this one. And we are also going to do that for our moving down. Moving up and moving down. So with a ladder, you do not turn around when you start climbing down. So, you know, we want the same animation for both. All right. We need to clear this animation, though, because now it messes with our jumping, right? Now we do this really goofy jumping where we, like, turn to the sky.
It's kind of fun, though. I mean, it's kind of endearing.
So, let's see. Is there a way to get rid of that? Actually, I don't know.
We can just set the animation again just to a single frame. No?
So here's
something else.
Wait, what?
Or can we make the other animation moving? Can we make a moving right and jumping and moving left and jumping animation? And then that will be prioritized over the...
But if you jump straight up.
I mean, we could have a moving, a facing the camera jump.
Let's, we're just going to do something else. Get rid of this.
Okay.
Weird. Why is this code still running? Did not recompile. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to work around this thing because, you know, I want this to be a complete tutorial. We're going to go ahead and do this. And we're going to set this animation looping on. And no, we're just going to set our image. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. We can fix it and come back to it patch this in later.
Yeah. I mean, this definitely can be coded. So like, you know,
it's just not the priority for the time. Like anybody can patch it on. Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and to enable character animations false. And then over here, we're going to set enable character animations true. So this is going to prevent our character animations from overriding this image set that we do. So there we go. Now we're stuck up here. And then as soon as we get off, the character animations are enabled again. So we can start walking. Okay. So let's do this thing that we were talking about. So we want to make it so that, oh God, this is going to be complicated code, isn't it, Joey? Is there a way to do this that's not going to be horrific? All right.
This being the wall part, right? Just to make sure I'm the right. Like, I mean, on game update, if exposition, right? It's not that bad.
It's kind of bad. Okay, so we're going to
set out the list of top tiles, or even give it a different ladder for the top.
No, I don't want people to have to do that when they're offering.
That's true.
All right. So we're going to go to array of all locations. We're going to look for array of all ladder locations. For each of these, we're going to go ahead and see what the tile to the top of it is.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So we're going to see, is it a wall on top of the tile or not? Oh, wrong block. What am I doing? We want to get the tile at location is this one. Oh, wait, we want tile at location is wall. Man, I'm just all flustered. And then inside here, we're going to go ahead and grab the tile in direction block, this one right here. So we have tile map location, top of our ladder location. So if this is a wall, then we want to do this on the inverse. So if this is not a wall, then, we want to see, is it not a wall and is it not a ladder? Oh, God, this is gross. Is it not a wall and not a ladder?
Okay. And that is important so that you don't block off the...
Yeah. So the logic that we want here, right, is so that only the top ladder tile is made into a wall, right? We don't want any of these other ones to be here. So we can't just check, is it not a wall on top of the tile? Because that's true for all of the lower rungs on our ladder. So we need to make sure that it is not a wall and also not a ladder tile. All right, so if it's not a wall and it's not a ladder tile, then we're going to check, is its top, go into scene, whoops, go into scene, grab this property block. So if the top of this tile is greater than the bottom of our sprite, then this means it is below our sprite. So we want it to be a wall. Otherwise, we want the wall to be off. Okay, all right. So we'll climb up to the top. And I think we want to do bottom -1, or I guess we can do greater than or equal to. There we go. Okay, so there we go. We're now on top of our ladder, but I can theoretically jump into it. We can't actually test that because we made our ladder too high. So let's go ahead and change our tile map.
Add a little step to the left of the ladder you can jump on.
All right, let's just do this.
Oh, okay.
Just put it nice and in a testable location. Okay, so now I can jump into it. Looking good. When I climb up it, there we go. I get stuck. And otherwise, I can jump into it. And I can walk on top of it. And this is exactly what we wanted. So we're all good.
I think, yeah. Last thing is just while standing on top of it, press A. Enabled.
Yep, that's exactly right. So the last thing that we have to do here is, like Joey said, we need to make it so that we can climb back down the ladder. So we need to say, are we on top of the ladder? And if that's the case, we are going to make our button indicator appear. And when you press A, we're once again going to make it so that you are dropping down. So we already have this is overlapping ladder function. See, there was a reason I put it in a function. And so we just need to change this to have some extra logic to see if we're in that other case. So right now we have tile to the center of my sprite is the ladder. That's all fine and good. We want to find out if the tile map location below us is a ladder and if we are hitting a wall downwards, right? So if those two things are true, then we are overlapping with the ladder.
I mean, if it's below us, then it should. I guess if it's below us and we're not climbing, then it should. Okay, yeah.
There's a reason I'm doing it this way.
Yes, I believe you.
So we need to check the location below our current location. Make this bottom. So if it is a wall, I'm sorry, we don't want to see if it's a wall. We want to see, is it our ladder?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if that's a ladder and we are standing on the ground, then return true. All right. Hi, Woof Woof. Woof says, I'm so late. Can't stay, unfortunately, but I'll watch the VOD later. Yeah, that's fair enough. You know, everyone's got stuff to do. All right. So the reason I wrote it this way is because we want this to have basically the same overlap range as our
as our normal wall collision wall.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The only thing I was thinking differently was would it be sufficient to just, instead of checking wall below, just to check is climbing? But it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters in either scenario.
Yeah. I don't think it matters. All right. Cool. All right. So this works. We have a problem though, which is if we climb up to the ladder, we get up top. Now I press A and I climb down. We immediately get out of ladder climbing mode. So the reason for that is because we set this to be a wall. So we can't climb through it.
Yeah.
So we need to go ahead and tweak our logic just a little bit. So we're going to go in right here and say if value top is greater than or equal to my sprite and we are not climbing a wall. So we want to do not is climbing wall. Is climbing ladder. What am I saying? We climb ladders here, not walls. All right, so now we get up to the top, climb down. There we go.
Perfect.
So climb up here, press A, climb down. Okay. Now there's one more bug I noticed. Which is that I made it so that we got rid of the logic for we got rid of the logic. We got rid of clearing the Y velocity because I was like, oh, we don't actually need that. No, we do need that. So if you jump and grab onto a ladder, you need to clear the Y velocity, or else you're just going to fly up like we just did.
Meander up.
Yeah. Or fly downwards if you happen to be moving downwards. So we're going to go ahead and clear our Y velocity as well, and our X velocity, should it exist. So actually, I don't think we need to clear the X. Pretty sure we're good there. Yeah, because the move takes care of that. So There you go. All right, so now we can jump onto our ladder, and we don't go flying or anything like that. All right, cool. Okay, last thing to do is make it so that if we press B, we're not climbing the ladder anymore. So we're going to go ahead and do another button press, do a B. We're going to say, if we are climbing a ladder, then stop doing that. All right, press A, climb up, press B, there we go, drop right off. So I can also press B and press A to grab back on if I want, which is kind of fun. So there we go. Okay, all right, so the last thing we were going to do, which is kind of just a nice to have, I think, is instead of teleporting onto the ladder, let's animate onto the ladder. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to go over to our start climbing ladder function right here. And instead of doing this place on top of, we're going to go ahead and pull this out. And what we're going to do is just a real quick animation to snap us onto our tile. Okay? So we don't actually want to snap our Y. We only want to snap our X, right? Because the Y is, good enough. So what we're going to do here is we are going to do a check and say, is our X at the right place? If it's not, either add 1 or subtract 1. So until we get there, So we're going to say, here, we'll do the left because I think that's easier to check, We'll compare our left to our tile map location left. So we're going to grab the tile map location of our sprite. We're going to grab a comparison block, and we're going to grab the tile map location property block right here. Okay. So we're going to say if our tile map location of our sprite's left is less than the left of our sprite, then we are going to change my sprite X by -1. Else if the left is greater than our sprite's left, then we're going to change by +1. Let's see what this does. There we go. So this causes us to vibrate, much like, I don't know, some superhero trying to vibrate their molecules so that they can go through a wall.
They're just excited to climb. Like, I don't know. I can feel that too. I can understand that.
Yeah. All right. So why is this happening? Well, we are, when we have a position of a sprite, our positions are not integers, right? They're floats. They're floating points. They have decimal points attached to them. Mm-hmm. So if we have a decimal value for our X or Y, and then we move, if we are less than and we add 1, we are then not going to be equal to, we are going to be greater than by that decimal amount, right? So let's say we have our left should be 0, but our current position is 0.5. We subtract 1 from that, we're going to be at -0.5. Then next frame, we're going to add 1 and be back at 0.5. And we're just going to be vibrating between those 2 pixels, which is what's going to cause this behavior. So there's an easy fix for this, which is we're just going to turn our X into an integer value. So I'm just going to go ahead and say set my sprite X to, and then we're going to grab inside of math, grab a round, grab the X, and there we go. So now I go ahead and snap right to the X position as I would want to. and I can travel downwards. There you go. And it's kind of hard to see because it's a pretty quick animation, frankly. But if I, let's see. So if I press A here, it is smoothly moving over now instead of, I don't know. Does that come through? Can you see it, Joey?
It does, yeah. Or at least I'm sure it's just good on Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. I think it comes through. So
it feels nice.
All right.
Even if it was pretty much the same, it just feels better.
Now, is there anything else we can do for this little implementation? So one thing I noticed was when I get up here and I press A, I'm then locked in going X and Y, despite the fact that like I have to press up to no longer be climbing the ladder, you know? The other thing,
if there's a wall below you and you press left or right, I could see it escaping.
Yeah, I'm thinking that perhaps that's the thing.
If you press left or right while A is not pressed, probably.
Yeah.
Because you want to be specific. You don't want it to like immediately trigger if you're holding right, press A and.
I mean, we certainly don't want that to happen if you're running at the bottom. But if you're at if you're up at the top, I think it's actually fine to just snap you on there.
Yeah, but if A is down, what other reason would A be there? Either way, people can tweak it how they want if we show how to do it.
Yeah. I think what I really want to happen is just that if you're at the top or bottom and you press left or right, I want you to be able to get off, you know, without having to press down or press B.
Yeah.
Which the other thing that might make it clear is if you cleared the animation state, so you were no longer in this like on the ladder animation. Because then it would be obvious that
like you have the potential to leave.
Yeah. But so let's try and do that with the remaining time. So we're not even going to get to the other ladder implementation today, which, you know, that's fair.
Yeah.
Ladders are surprisingly complicated. I mean, not really. Surprisingly, that's the whole reason I was doing this.
Yes.
Stream. So let's go to do this. We're going to change our logic for getting off the ladder right here. So we're going to right now our getting off the ladder automatically logic is either we're hitting the wall bottom and we're pressing the down button, or we are at the top and we're hitting the up button. By the way, I want to actually change this a little bit. So I don't know if you noticed, but when I climb up the ladder, I actually like bump up for a second.
Yeah.
You know?
I saw that, but.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and fix that too. Let's fix that first. So we're going to go ahead and set the bottom of our sprite to be equal to the bottom of the tile map location it's currently on. Not that one. I want the tile map location. And I want to grab bottom. And we want to set this to, sorry, we want this to be top. No, bottom. That's right. We do want it to be that. All right, so let's give this a shot. We're gonna head up to the top, and there we go. So now I no longer do the little hop when I get to the top. I just lock to the top, which is what we wanted. All right, cool. Okay, so to do this correct, like, unlatching behavior, what's the right move here? I don't know if you have any immediate thoughts, Joey.
I guess it's left or right pressed event. If is climbing is on ladder and hitting wall bottom. Should that cover? Is there a case that
Yeah,
doesn't cover?
that'll cover the bottom scenario for sure.
I mean, that should cover the. No, it doesn't because we don't set it to a wall until the end, do we? Okay.
Yeah.
We don't set it to a wall until after we have gotten off. I see.
Exactly. So I think maybe we could make a function and say, we'll make one that's called is at
top and just pull out the remaining check we had from that.
Yeah. So we're gonna make a function which is at bottom of ladder, and we're gonna make another function which is at top of ladder. Okay, so is at bottom of ladder, that's nice and easy to do. We're just gonna go ahead and say is hitting wall bottom. Oh, hey, you know what? We forgot to do something.
What did we forget?
Let's press pause on this because there's something more important that we have to do. All right. Let's go ahead and do this. Oh, whoops. That.
Oh. True.
Yeah. So you cannot currently drop off a ladder, right? So this one actually is a bad example because we need to do that. Yeah. So right now, if I drop down to the bottom of the ladder like this, you can see that I get into this weird flying state. If I press up, I actually fall off because of our is at top of ladder logic.
Yeah.
But we need to detect this case.
Yeah. You've gone through the ladder.
Yeah. So to check that, so this is if we are on the ground, right? So that one can stay as is. This is if we're at the top, and then we have one more case, which is we fall off the bottom. So our fall off the bottom is going to look very much like this. We're actually just going to duplicate this. And we're going to change this to be the top of our sprite instead. And we're going to check is down pressed. And if that's the case, we're not going to bother with this snapping behavior because we're going to be falling anyway. But there we go. Now I should be... Okay, wait, no, that messed it up because now we immediately start falling as soon as we press downwards if we're at the top of the ladder. This is a tougher one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we need to say, oh, this is annoying. All right, so we need to say, is the tile at the top of our sprite a ladder? No. So is the tile at the top of our sprite not a ladder? And is the one above our sprite a ladder?
On top of our okay. Is the one that we are on top of currently, that we have transitioned into, not a ladder anymore, and the one above us was a ladder? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. On top of is having double meanings here.
Yeah. So we're going to grab this tile we're going to grab this check right here. And we're going to make this row be -1. And do that. And we need another AND block. And there we go. Okay, gross. Let's see if this works, and then we'll walk through it a little bit more clearly. Okay, no, that doesn't work. So if not tile is ladder, and the tile above the top. Oh, this is bottom. This should be top.
Gotcha.
Okay, so go down here, press down, and there we go. Now we fall through.
It's not the worst.
There you go. Okay, so that this seems to be working correctly. All right, so let's walk through this real quick. So what we're doing is we're saying if the tile at the top pixel of our sprite is not a ladder, so we've gone below the bottom part of the ladder, and we were previously in a ladder, so we need to see, okay, but is the tile that we just came out of a ladder? Which in this case it is, right? So we're down here. We have just gotten 1 pixel beyond our ladder, but the tile above us is still a ladder. And is the down button pressed? Then you drop off the ladder.
Will this have some weird edge case we have to deal with if we put a ladder with a 1 space gap above the left ladder?
Yes, there absolutely will be. I don't think we need to deal with it, though.
Yeah, I don't feel it. The falling through should cover that. So you just
and also I think the behavior is kind of
expected and
there's a 1 pixel place where you can't do that.
Yeah,
ladder, right? Like if you were perfectly aligned, then it will not behave correctly.
Yeah,
which is
but in that case, it's still no, it won't, because it won't be a wall anymore. Well, it will be a wall after you've fallen off, so it should be fine.
All right. Anyway, I'm going to call this done. So the little last thing we could do here is we could, again, make it so that if you're at the top, you can move left and right. But we haven't implemented that. So I think we're going to call this one done. Next stream, we're going to do the other ladder type. And we can, we'll probably have time because that one's much easier. We can come back and maybe consider doing this last little bit.
We'll polish it up. Maybe we'll have time to upgrade the animations package and character animations. And
yeah, I might do that.
Perfect.
All right, that's it, everybody. I am Richard on the MakeCode Forum.
I'm Joey at J Wonder on the MakeCode Forum.
And we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.